Hamadeh, and Will, we came a little late, so we got some brochures to pass. Oh, I think we're doing it on the cards or something. Did I kill it that much? There's no questions? Oh, there's one. There you go.
What's your stance on abortion?
What's that?
What's your stance on abortion?
Pro-life. Yes.
What can you do that Bronovich has not done regarding the last election?
Actually do your job, but what I tell folks is Brnovich, he was handed over the investigation. He didn't start this investigation from scratch. And Blake can tell you a little bit about, there's probably political reasons what's happening. They're going to try to blame it. There's only one election integrity attorney there. Anybody in the military knows you can shift resources in the office, right? You can actually move them around. You know when an election's coming, shift it from just one attorney to maybe 10 or 15 attorneys or 20 attorneys, depending on when the election comes up, and have them come up after it. So for them to constantly gaslight us and tell us, just wait, he knows what he's doing. Right now what's going on is there's a lot of political calculations, but I think, look at what's going to happen with this Dinesh D'Souza movie, The 2,000 Mules. This has been going on for a long time, by the way. We've gotten way too comfortable with mail-in ballots. There's a price to pay for being an American citizen. Remember this. I'm a prosecutor. How many of you have been at jury duty? I'm sure some of you try to get out of jury duty, but it's your constitutional requirement, right? And this is what I tell folks. There's a price of citizenship. And right now, the number of mail-in ballots doubled from 2016 to 2020, and we've made voting so convenient. Well, there shouldn't be the convenience shouldn't come at the cost of integrity, and I think that's what we're seeing. And rightly or wrongly, we've already seen those videos and images, whether you think spreading democracy in the world is a good thing or bad thing. We still see those images in Iraq, Afghanistan, them dipping their finger in ink, and they're so proud to wave, that they voted. Right now, we have no idea, and we have no way to track it. And you have these mail-in drop boxes, what we're having in Yuma. So it's been going on for a while. We've just gotten comfortable and complacent, so we have to start tackling it head on. Because America looks at other countries for election, and we look to see if their election was fair and secure, right? If you look at the United States, I'm not sure our observers would have said that our election was safe or secure. So this is what we have to do. We have to fight back, and the media, I had a video that posted, Hillary Clinton said her election was stolen, right? But nobody questioned that. Nobody banned her on Twitter. Next question.
Can you repeat your name again? I'm very hard of hearing.
Abraham, Abe, and then my last name, Hamadeh. Hamadeh. And Will is passing out my brochure. Yes?
Follow up on the abortion question. Incremental or abolition?
I'm a believer that there should be no abortion except with the risk of if there's a risk for the mother's life. That's my only exception.
I have a question.
Yes?
What do you think the three main responsibilities are of the AG's office?
So the AG's office is vast. If you want me to break it down. So the AG's office, there's a big unit there, the Department of Child Safety, which is the most number of attorneys, right? That has about 200 plus attorneys out of the 400 attorneys. So that's a big division in the office. But I think the job of the Attorney General is to actually secure your rights. That's the number one job of government. And what I saw so much with, AG Brnovich, I was disappointed to see him not confront the governor, Governor Doug Ducey, during the shutdowns. And actually there was a lot of disappointment. I didn't see the state legislature get involved either. think about it. Doug Ducey just ended the emergency order 2 weeks ago. That shouldn't be something we're proud of, right? So, with the other focuses on the AG's office there's a consumer fraud protection, which is, being ramped up big time. But I want to actually expand the AG's role to actually take on a lot more criminal cases. So in the last legislature, they actually expanded the AG's role to go after those smash and grabs. You probably see those images and videos in San Francisco. They break into a store. A lot of county attorneys are not prosecuting those crimes. So they expanded, they created organized retail theft unit. I want to see the AG's office have the ability to go into some of these radical county attorneys that are George Soros funded and actually take over some of these cases. What's going down in Pima County is absolute lawlessness. And Doug Ducey and Mark Brnovich haven't done a single thing. And Doug Ducey was so quick to shut down the Horseshoe Cafe in Wickenburg. Remember that lady who kept her cafe open? Yeah. Then she was so quick to shut down the Euro Cafe in Fountain Hills. But when you have going on what's down in Pima County, which is a radical communist, board of supervisors, and now the county attorney, they feel so helpless. As Attorney General, I'm going to be Attorney General for the entire state of Arizona, not just Maricopa. So I think that's my biggest difference, when I see the office and I see the office of vision that I'm going to take forward. Thank you. Yes?
Okay, so you know how if you watch the news, it's fake news, right? So what's real, there's a lot of things going on that we don't really know about. And I heard that President Trump, before he left office, is really running the country through Jeb
Donald Trump's running the country, because if he is, he's doing a horrible job at it, so I don't think he is.
No, but this thing is such a joke by, well, how Biden is acting that it's almost like an act, it's almost like an act. It's like,
Right now-
wake people up, wake people up.
So the media is, I mean, it's not just the media. I mean, it's big tech. And when I talk about, we can't think of the government being the only tyrannical part of our lives right now.
Right.
It's big tech, it's big
Yes.
business. This is where, we have to start thinking creatively, right? So when you're looking at, Joe Biden and the mess he's put us in, I mean, it's not, I haven't heard any of those things. I don't think, to be honest, I just haven't heard of it. But right now, I think we have to blame somebody, and I think it's Joe Biden's incompetence. And when I talk about the radical left not knowing the gender, that's what I mean. So much of their policies are the musings of a 7-year-old. And that's why I make fun of it, and you have to mock it. Because if you take it seriously, you almost elevate their positions. I mean, it's an absolute joke what they're doing. And believe me, when you have Bill Maher becoming a conservative, you know they're going far left. Any questions? Yes?
Well, with the elections last year, with the ballots and the machines, which department, is the Attorney General Department in charge of the machines or the ballots, or how can things be changed so that we can be reassured that all this is going on, that votes can be changed and ballots can't be stuffed in? How can it change?
Well, luckily, we have a good state legislature right now that's been proactive in trying to prevent this situation from happening again. In Arizona, so much of it is delegated to the county recorder's offices, which is why George Soros has been smart. George Soros has been winning, by the way. This is why he's taken over Secretary of State's office, his AG's office in 2015. So it's up to the county recorder. Secretary of State has some oversight, but ultimately the AG's office is there to prosecute some of the crimes. But the state legislature just this year, banned Zuckbug. So there's a lot of improvements that's actually happening. And this is what I tell folks. This year, you can't just look at the top level, folks running for office. You got to go down to the school board level. What's going on is so insidious. It's unlike anything we've seen. This is the radical left. Democrats play to win. Republicans have played nice. And quite frankly, I want an attorney general that's going to be a monster in there right now. Next question. Yes.
What about ESG scores and ESG basically being how they're now going to run the country by debanking you and deplatforming you everywhere based on your ESG scores?
Right, so this is where when I talked about the Canadian truckers, if you donated money to the Canadian truckers back in February, I don't know if you remember that, it was GoFundMe that had it. Right, GoFundMe was saying they were going to shift that and put it into the radical leftist organizations. Who stopped that? State AGs actually stopped that. Brnovich was a little late to the party, but it was state AGs that stopped it. And what ultimately happened was that GoFundMe then returned the money. So this is where it required, this is why I say AGs are so much more important than any other time. I think finally we've realized that state AGs, we can't rely on the federal government. God bless Blake for wanting to go to DC, but I think that's more of a defensive role. I think the states have the ability to fight back and go on offense, and that's exactly what I intend to do. Right now what's going on is so different, which is why I'm running. Our country's not going to survive. I no longer trust the old establishment guard or the same old type of candidate running for office. Right now we need some new generation of leadership and some new blood in there. Yes?
What can we do, or where would be the office to attack this whole thing of the LGBTQ plus A, whatever, is being pushed in the face of the local schools, but also the state and the universities?
I think primarily you have to start going after the school boards, right? And I think that the AG's office does have a role to play. Scottsdale School District, I don't know if you saw about that, the Scottsdale president, school board president, actually had a dossier on some of these parents who were speaking out against critical race theory and some of the transgender stuff going on. And what happened, what did Brnovich do? He actually sent a letter to the Biden DOJ asking them to investigate it. The same Biden DOJ who just classified the parents as possible domestic terrorists. It is within the jurisdiction of the AG's office or even the county attorney to actually look at some of the school boards. By the way, this isn't new. If you remember, back in I believe it was 2012, you had down in Tucson, you actually had Chicano studies being taught. The radical left, they just constantly shifted. So it's Chicano studies, and then they actually had to stop it because the AG Horn at the time put an end to it. And then now it's critical race theory. But now they're shifting from critical race theory to, social, emotional, I don't know. It's always some other acronym. But we have to constantly be on guard. And that's where I'm so excited as I travel Arizona. So many of us are awake, and this is what's so beautiful to see so many people in this packed room. We're awake right now. We're never going to go back to sleep until we save back our state and our country.
here to learn about what's going on with politics here.
Welcome home.
But we, where we come from, it was in LA County, or down there. They were teaching the kids Muslim classes. And a few things like that. So I haven't heard anything like that here yet. But,
I think this is where the school board matters, right? So if you want to dictate actually what's going on in your schools and not have some foreign governments or some foreign laws being taught, then you have to actually take over your school boards. But welcome to Arizona as refugees, and I'm glad I think you guys are Republicans based off your hat. And but you know what's going on in LA and San Francisco, don't think it can't happen to Arizona. Tucson is already gone. I know we're up north, but let me tell you, Tucson and Pima County, they're my biggest supporters. And it's because they're under communist rule. And usually when you're under communist rule, you see what's happening. So this is where we have to be on guard. I mean, Maricopa County has an open county attorney seat right now, where you have George Soros, he's already pledged to put $125 million through these races across the country. You have to be on guard. I don't think it can't even happen here. Because believe me, George Soros and the radical left are being very smart. They know what they're doing, and Republicans have been asleep at the wheel for far too long. But this is why I'm honing in on the idea that every level matters. Whoever knew that the board of supervisors mattered, right? I mean, you probably didn't even know what the board of supervisors did until recently. Maricopa County, Pima County, every single level matters this time, and we have to get educated on who we're going to vote for, and that's where it requires vetting. Yes.
Last question.
My name is Juliana. I'm also running for a school board in Showa.
Thank you.
And they can investigate 20, 30 parents. And the major problem that we have is that we have a few people that show up. If 100 parents show up, they can't investigate and scare 100, 200, 300 parents. We just have people, and what I see is that people hope somebody else is going to do it. Never in the world did I think I will ever run for office in my life. But unless this is our last chance to stand up, if we don't do it now, that's it.
Thank you for stepping up, and I tell folks all the time, you know, I'm not running because I'm desperate to be a politician. I'm desperately worried about our country. And with the history of our nation's written down, I refuse to be known as a generation that lost our country. We'll be known as a generation that saves America. My name's Abraham Hamadeh. I'm running for office because I'm not done fighting for our country. I'm just getting started.